Introduction to LADO. Level 1. This is an introduction to the LADO process and roles of all involved. This should be completed by all those that work with children, either as a volunteer or as a paid employee. Level 2 will look into the LADO investigation in more detail, in terms of agency roles and potential outcomes. Both modules 1 and 2 should be completed by those that manage, own or recruit to roles where staff work with children. What is a LADO? A local authority designated officer. The role of the LADO is set out in Working Together to Safeguard Children 2018, Chapter 2, Paragraph 4, and is governed by the local authority's duties under the Section 11 of the Children Act 2004. The Children Act 2004 brought about the changes in multi-agency working so that social services were not responsible for all safeguarding, especially after the Baby P serious case review. Working Together 2006 brought in the concept of a designated officer in each local authority who manages and coordinates allegations against staff and volunteers. This role is also to reinforce that each agency and setting have their own safeguarding processes and training in place. The LADO role. The LADO is responsible for managing all child protection allegations made against staff and volunteers who work with children and young people. All organisations which have employees or volunteers working with children should therefore have clear and accessible policies and procedures consistent with these London Child Protection Procedures, which explain what should happen when allegations about the behaviour of a member of staff or volunteer are raised. Although safe recruitments are in place with DBS checks, references and safeguarding interviews, we also know that individuals looking to abuse children will look to find a role where they can access children. Each Working Together to Safeguard Children published develops the role of the LADO further, adding more responsibilities. For example, the LADO now deals with individual concerns as well as supporting safer organisations and providing advice regarding safer recruitment. The LADO processes should be applied when there is an allegation that any person who works with children in connection with their employment or voluntary activity has behaved in a way that has harmed a child or may have harmed a child, possibly committed a criminal offence against or related to a child, behaved towards a child in a way that has indicated they may pose a risk of harm to children. It is required that head teachers, DSLs, managers or employers contact LADO within 24 hours of a concern being raised, where one or more of these three criteria are met. This is so that evidence is kept and that there is no delay in the investigation process. LADO will consider the risk to staff members' own family and the public. LADO across the UK. In England and Wales, the LADO is responsible for managing allegations against adults who work with children. The LADO oversees investigations to ensure thoroughness, fairness and impartiality, and works with employers, schools, children's social care and police. Similarly, in Scotland, your local Child Protection Committee fulfills a similar role. London breaks up into individual local authorities. Together, the London LADOs meet quarterly to ensure sharing of good practice, keeping up to date with LADO developments and for professional support. LADO remit is for any staff working within their local authority. Thresholds. Thresholds are separated into 4 tiers where LADO involvement is required for Tier 3 and Tier 4 cases. Across the UK, there is threshold matrix that many of the LADOs adapt and use. London LADOs share a similar threshold matrix. In the next slide, you will see the breakdown of these thresholds. Personal life concerns are also considered by the LADO, and a referral can be made where a person has behaved in a way in their personal life that raises safeguarding concerns. As a parent or a carer, they have been made subject to a child protection procedures, or is closely associated with someone in their personal lives, partner, member of family or household member, who may present a risk of harm to children. Personal life threshold considers significant harm, whereas professional life concerns only with harm. LADO will need to consider the transferable risks of how the personal life concerns may impact their role as a professional. Complaints, allegations and concerns. Working Together 2018 defines the difference between complaints, allegation and concerns when determining LADO threshold. Allegations relating to harm, not significant harm, just harm, will need to be referred to LADO. Concerning behaviour, i.e. inappropriate messages online, not sexual, not adhering to safeguarding procedures. Depending on these circumstances, this could lead to a LADO just making record of the concerns or progressing to a referral. These are known as low-level concerns. Schools and other employers are encouraged to contact LADO where there are low-level concerns, as many of the times a number of low-level concerns can lead to a bigger issue which could lead to a LADO referral. Most complaints are from parents. Often these are redirected back to the agency to follow through with their complaints procedures. The categories of harm which are discussed within LADO investigations are physical, emotional, sexual, neglect and inappropriate conduct. The threshold is harm, not significant harm. Below talk about the different contexts of each of the categories of harm. Emotional harm is related to the increase in awareness around racism thresholds, and more referrals are coming in relation to discrimination. Both neglect and emotional harm concerns could lead to a standard of care assessment, as these are often not a one-off incident but a series of concerns. Referrals should be sent to LADO within 24 hours of identifying a concern allegation. The LADO protocol and an electronic referral form can be found on the Sutton website. Please ensure to consider the information on the referral and put down as much information as possible. Essential details are the name, place of employment, date of birth and address, so that police checks can be carried out. Without a place of employment, further inquiries cannot take place. For example, if the information is that the person is a teacher, they could be a teacher in any borough or in any school, and therefore will not be able to be identified. The LADO will always endeavour to respond within a day of your referral. If you have an urgent referral, i.e. sexual harm, physical harm, where forensic evidence is still viable, please call the LADO and email. The possible outcomes from LADO referrals. Advice. This means going back to the agency either to complete an internal investigation or advice around training. ASV meetings, allegations against staff and volunteers, these used to be called senior strategy meetings, and they are a meeting that brings together a police investigation of possible criminal offence, inquiries from Children's Social Services and any employment disciplinary action. Referral to another agency. A complaints investigation, which goes back to the agency to undertake. Initial evaluation meeting, where thresholds are not clear and further information is required to make a decision regarding threshold. And no further action, which means that LADO threshold was not met, or this would be shared as information only.